flood creation narrative was heavily influenced by older stories from the Mesopotamia region, in particular the Gilgamesh epic's flood story. The similarities and differences between the two stories listed clearly show that the biblical flood narrative was inspired by the Gilgamesh epic. The similarities shown represent the influences that the epic had on the flood narrative, whilst the differences show the separate theologies that the Israelites and the Sumerians had. The Israelite authors were able to manipulate the epic in order to suit their own monotheistic views on a merciful God. The Sumerian kings list writes of a flood that devastated the globe and attempted to wipe out humanity. The Sumerian authors wrote this epic to tell their people to stop sinning, as they write that Ea says, "Lay upon the sinner his sins." Ea did not want the people to be punished with something that was not their sin. This epic is presumed to be written in 1800 BC, which was the Mesopotamian Dark Ages. The Sumerian people needed a leader through these times, and Gilgamesh was not just a great leader in the epic, but he was an actual king, said to have built the walls of Uruk. The Sumerians were in a time of need because of the constant invasion and wars over their precious land filled with great agriculture, prospering trade, and established industries. The people needed Gilgamesh and Utnapishtim's tales to look up to in a time when they needed their faith. During the Dark Ages of Mesopotamia, many smaller states formed and became established kingdoms, the Israelite state being one of them. The differences in the biblical flood narrative to the epic of Gilgamesh shows an independence from Sumerian theology, with Israel having become monotheistic. The similarities show how much influence the Mesopotamian region had on Israel. Around the time the flood narrative was written, the king of Damascus killed the king of Israel. This led to the persecution of the Israelites. It is written that the flood occurred because now the earth was corrupt in God's sight. The flood occurred because humans were a problem and God could no longer rule through them, and so he put his trust in the faithful Noah. This story gave the inspiration that was needed to maintain the Israelite faith even whilst being persecuted for it, because they knew they were the descendants of Noah, who God put his trust within. The Israelites could put their faith in God to save them in their time of peril. In the Bible, humans were rebellious towards God ever since the Garden of Eden. The Israelites believed that the reason the flood happened, unlike the epic of Gilgamesh, was that the Lord saw the wickedness of humans was great in the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of their hearts was only evil continually. So the Israelites used the story as one of renewal and God's mercy to let them start over. The Catechism of the Catholic Church says, "The dove at the end of the flood, whose symbolism refers to baptism. When Christ comes up from the water of his baptism, the Holy Spirit, in the form of a dove, comes down upon him and remains with him." The Israelites used the story to show the significance of their rituals. In both stories, the water and the flood is shown to renew the world and restore it with a new humanity. The Israelite state was able to benefit from the downfall of Mesopotamia and become a powerful, independent kingdom. They were influenced by the epic of Gilgamesh, which helped them form the flood narrative.